Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Max and welcome to today's airsofting video. So, as you guys have already seen my unboxing of the ever so popular Elite Force Glock 17, today's going to be the day that I cover the full ins and outs of this gun with an in-depth review. So, again, Elite Force Glock, this is the Gen 4 Glock 17 edition. So, I'll go ahead and get into just doing as full out of a review as I can. And yeah, we'll just get right into it, guys. So just briefly, I wanted to show you guys again the box a little bit closer, just to really to know what to expect when you do order one of these Glock 17s. I mean, I was just really impressed with the box, and that's kind of why I'm showcasing it, because again, it has very high level of detail. You know, Glock really wants to make sure that they really have their logo out there and presentable as best as possible. You know, it was already a touchy subject with Glock before, with airsoft replicas, you know, being out there without their consent and everything. So, you know, now that we have the legalized version without any problems, you know, they have this very nice and attractive packaging that your Glock will arrive in. And again, just really nice quality. I just thought I'd share that with you guys first. Alright, so here is the beautiful Glock 17 with the full-on trades. Again, as you guys are aware, Elite Force Glock, or Elite Force had approval from Glock to issue out a fully licensed, fully legalized version of a Glock airsoft replica, and they nailed this thing to the T, and I'm just quite impressed overall with the finish of it. And again, the hefty price tag of about $170+ with tax and shipping. I mean, you can kind of almost see why that is, and I'll kind of touch into also with why, why that price is where it's at. So taking a look at the trademarks first of all, you can see that the full Glock emblem is there, the model, so 17, this is the Gen 4 edition, Austria 9x19, so the traditional Glock trademarks. And then if you look further down, there is just telling you what the size caliber is for this, which is the 6mm BB, and then it has its own serial number from the factory, as I would imagine. And then down below, it's basically just a warning that they laser etched onto the lower frame of the pistol. Nothing too exciting there. And then if you look further down, you can see that the Glock logo is on the lower frame, and you can see the stippling on this as well. This is for the Gen 4 edition, with the enlarged mag release, which we'll talk on in a little bit here. Now if we flip to the other side, down here you don't really have anything. It looks like a blank, just a slate or a spot, whatever. And then up here you have officially licensed product of Glock. So again, this is them telling you it's fully licensed and it's legit airsoft replica. And then over here you have MBS, followed by another Glock stamping here, and then SGL 117 on the slide and on the outer barrel. And then if we flip this to the top here, you can see that the outer barrel itself also has another Glock logo stamped, AT, and then 9x19 with like a pentagon symbol. So again, very nice trademarks on the actual pistol itself. Again, they did a very nice job with replicating it to the real one. Now let's take a look at the magazine, because there is also some trademarks on there. So as you guys can see, the mag base itself is also Glock on the bottom. So again, fully trademarked on the magazine. And also on the bottom of the magazine it has the Glock logo with Austria in it as well. So nothing else really for the magazine, but that's for the most part what to expect with the Elite Force Glock and the trademarks. So typically with the US customers, they will have an orange tip embedded into the gun. This one was a plastic one, which I did remove. It is quite a simple process. I would advise on just, your own actions once you do take this off, as it does become a very realistic looking replica, and it may confuse others thinking it's a real firearm. So again, just be mindful of that when you are taking the orange tip off. But anyway, it was quite simple. Just going into the cosmetic factors of this and the materials involved, the slide itself is actually a very nice quality. You can almost see that it has some kind of like a like a black with like sprinkles or sparkles in there or something. It has like a sparkly look to it when the sun hits it. So again, very nice finish. It is aluminum, just from what I can understand. So again, very nice quality. And then again, you have the polymer lower frame. There's not a whole lot of metal on the actual pistol itself. You'll just have the mag release, the tabs to remove the slide, and then of course the slide itself, and then the magazine is also metal, as except for the mag base and then the little feeder part for the BBs. But everything else on here has like a hybrid of plastic and metal. So again, that's kind of what Glock is known for. You know, trying to be lightweight and basically comfortable in your hand. So nothing too crazy with the outside cosmetics. It's pretty much what's expected with airsoft pistols nowadays. Now, the FPS on this, I was a little bit surprised. It's about 290 FPS with 0.2 gram BBs, which I feel as though it's a little bit on the weaker side as opposed to the other competitors like WeTech, KWA, KJW that are closer into the 300s to 330. So definitely something a little interesting there. It may be kind of like a nitpick thing for other players. They might think that FPS is a little too low, but again, that's what you'd expect out of the box for this particular pistol. Now the magazine itself. Also kind of surprised with this as well as the capacity for it. As listed on the box is 20 rounds. So again, comparing it to the competitor with WeTech and other Glock manufacturers, I guess, airsoft companies that manufacture these replicas, typically have at least 25 as the minimum. And I'll bring the box around. You can see that there's 20 rounds for the magazine and 290 FPS with 0.2 gram BBs. So again, that is kind of the one thing that's a little bit, maybe it could be a drawback for others, but to me, not a huge deal. This is a green gas / propane model. There are CO2 models out there from what I have heard, but I'm not quite sure if those even made it into the US yet, but this is going to be the green gas model here, and then I will show you guys as well where to put the gas in for the magazine. Alright, so I kind of have to use two hands for this when you're trying to take the mag base off here, but pretty much there's a little piece down here that you will put your nail in, and then you'll kind of push it down, and then this should slide right off. It's still kind of stiff on here because it is a new mag base, so it hasn't really experienced a lot of movement yet, but there's your valve there to put in your green gas or propane, and then once you fill it up, you can go ahead and close it back up. I don't know how effective this would be when you're in an airsoft situation. You may need to just buy more mags, which might kind of aid your playing, because if you have to keep doing this every single time with one magazine, it might get a little tedious and annoying. But again, probably the resolution for that is maybe buying another magazine. So as you guys know, traditionally with Glock, they do have the bracket sights for the sights that come with the gun. Again, you have the small dot on the far end and then the bracket towards the back. Again, it's pretty much the signature trademark of Glock. So nothing too crazy there. These are easily, you could easily take those off and put something else there. So it's really up to your standards on how you want your sights to be. The one thing I notice is, if we're comparing WeTech, typically they'll offer a little, I guess, depending on how big your hand is, like these little, I forgot what they're called, but they're pretty much like an extension piece. If you put here, it kind of makes it a thicker grip, or without it, it's kind of slim. So again, it depends on, your hand, and do you like it if it's like a thicker grip or whatever. But anyway, this pretty much comes as is from the factory. They didn't really include anything else with the actual packaging. It's mainly just the gun itself and some pamphlets is what you're going to end up getting. And then for the mag release, being that this is a Gen 4, this is going to be an ambidextrous pistol, which Glock usually is known for being pretty ambidextrous for both lefties and righties. So with the mag release, this can actually come out, and then you can even flip it over to the other side of the gun, as you can see there. So again, for those of you that are lefty shooters and you prefer to use your left hand you know, your thumb, there you go. That's where you're going to be releasing the magazine. So the one thing I've noticed is the firmness of this mag release button. It is quite firm of a spring, so when you press it, I mean, this is probably as far as the motion is going to go for the magazine to drop out. But again, it's pretty firm. Definitely the firmest mag release button that I've ever had to press on, so that's kind of something that I noticed with this particular model, which again, it could be a pet peeve for some, or it could be the coolest thing ever for others. So it's really a preference that's for you. So once again, I'm going to need two hands here because I will show you guys the field strip of this Glock 17. So the way to field strip this is the little tabs that I mentioned earlier, they're on both sides. You actually have to, you're going to have to pull those down in order for the slide to come out. But the first thing is, before you do that, is you want to make sure that you rack the slide back to engage the hammer, because you need the hammer engaged so it's flush with the lower frame in order for the slide to come out. So we're going to go ahead and move these tabs down, and then just take your thumb and push forward. Again, when you first try this, it's going to be a little firm from what I noticed, but now it's starting to get a little easier since I have taken it off a few times now. So again, you guys can kind of see here, it's pretty straightforward. If you guys have ever owned Tokyo Marui, WeTech, KJW, KWA, whatever, they have quite a similar layout here. So here is the actual upper receiver of the pistol. So you have very unique recoil rod, which again, it's quite different if we're comparing to WeTech. Theirs are typically a little bit like not as thick as this one. Spring is usually one size. This kind of has two different size springs on here, which is interesting. And just the blowback housing itself, it's like it looks very well built. I gotta just say that they used a very nice looking metal in here, and again, the hop up for this too is right there where that little wheel sits in the center. So again, nothing too crazy there. They were pretty generous with the lubricant, as you guys can tell. Probably not the greatest thing, as that is going to attract a lot of contaminants. So I might even clean all this up and then re-lubricate it properly to avoid any further contamination. So now we'll take a look at the lower frame of the pistol. So again, it's very lightweight, again, because of this polymer material. It's quite light. Now the one thing that I thought was very interesting, because the cycling on this pistol is incredibly smooth. I was very impressed with this. I've never seen anything like this with any of my other Glocks that I have. So the reason behind that is, if you guys can see that little hammer piece, if you guys are familiar with WeTech, they have a little wheel there, like a perfect circle wheel. This one, however, has kind of like an oblong shape with a point. So it's almost like those, and I forgot what they're called, but they're custom hammers for WeTech, and they're basically in the same exact shape that allows the slide to kind of hover over it, you know, without any issues. And I was really happy to see that this was incorporated into Elite Force's design, because again, the cycling on this is incredibly smooth when you're racking it, when you're releasing the slide. It's very nice, very incredible quality, and it's just, they did an awesome job with this particular pistol. So now we're going to go ahead and just put things back together. So what you want to make sure is you align the rails of these. Sorry, my camera's like freaking out here. Let me... Okay, just so it doesn't keep autofocusing. But you align the rails, and then you slowly just push back. And just make sure that nothing gets caught, because a lot of the times this could get caught and it's going to start pushing it out. So just kind of be mindful of that. I would even put your finger there too, and then just slowly start pushing it in. If it wants to go in, that is. Yeah, see what I mean? It's starting to push that recoil rod in, but oh, looks like it locked in. But anyway, again, if you're doing that right when you get the pistol, it might be kind of stiff still, because everything is still new, everything is still fresh and not really cycled through yet. So now everything's good to go. And again, just the cycling on this is incredibly smooth. It's I gotta say that that's very impressive to me, considering, you know, the amount of Glock models that I did have. That kind of always gets stuck right at this point, like 3/4 of the way back. It kind of has like that, when it's going over the wheel, you can just definitely notice. But this, it's like a solid, it's a clear movement. It's very impressive for that. And then just the trigger itself, it's a very, very firm, stiff spring, and you can really feel it in the trigger when you're squeezing it. So again, very nice quality. You can really feel the spring tension in there. I probably imagine it's probably like 150% spring in there for that hammer. But again, very nice, very good quality materials right there. And then the other thing that's somewhat unique as well that I didn't quite cover when I talked about the orange tip, if you guys can see, that outer barrel is threaded on the inside. So if you choose to thread on a suppressor, it's definitely doable. Obviously, you need to make sure you have the proper adapter because this one particularly is a much larger outer barrel than the typical adapters would fit. Like this one would fit a WeTech Glock, no problem. But for this one, you can tell that there's quite a lot more going on there in terms of size. So again, if you guys did choose to mount any type of suppressors on here, totally doable. Same with the little rail here as well. You can put some kind of a flashlight laser attachment, or you could put on a striker piece or something. I've already done all three. It looks pretty awesome. But again, it's there for you if you need it. Alrighty guys, so now I'm just coming to a quick conclusion with this review of the Elite Force Glock 17. Just kind of, you know, I try to cover the basics as much as I could. If you guys feel like you have further questions that I maybe didn't address in this video, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'm going to just kind of give you guys my input on this. As you guys are aware, the price tag on this is a hefty $169.95, I think it was what it was. And again, for a pistol, that is quite expensive. If you're looking at the other counterparts like WeTech for like 80, 90, 100 bucks for the same exact thing. But the reasoning behind this $165 or $69 is because, first of all, you're paying for the Glock trademark. That's its own bracket of money. You're paying for the quality of the material because they did an excellent job and they went a little extra with this as opposed to WeTech in terms of the internals. Like that hammer assembly, beautiful. The recoil rod, amazing. The high quality magazine, also amazing. I think the mag itself is like 45, 50 bucks. I mean, it's up there. The mag definitely consumes most of this cost for the pistol. But again, it's really your preference. Are you a low budget airsofter? Do you like always getting high end gear? I don't know. It's up to your preference. To me, I think this is quite expensive, especially if you're a beginner airsofter. I mean, this thing costs more than some pretty decent AEGs would. So again, for a sidearm, it is quite expensive. I just want to get that out there because that is something that a lot of you guys have been kind of saying, that the price point on this is quite high, and I agree. Especially for the magazine itself, like $45. Incredible. It is very, very expensive. I mean, if you're trying to run this on the field, you probably need a few of these mags because, again, like I mentioned, it's a process to fill this thing up. But anyway, that's all I had for today, guys. I hope you did enjoy this review of the Elite Force Glock 17 GBB edition. Again, any questions, let me know. If you guys do love Glock videos and Glocks in general like myself, check out my Glock playlist. I have tons of stuff going on there, and there's going to be a lot more coming down the pipeline now that I got this beauty in my hands. Plenty of reviews, demos, Mythbusters. I'm going to do everything with this thing. So, again, thanks for watching, guys.